Hello and welcome to Cosmic Divide, episode number 55. Today, I'm joined by a wonderful man. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. It's William Chobra.
Thank you.
It's William Chobra.
It's always great to find out that I'm wonderful.
Nongshim's Noodle Zone. William Chobra.
Noodle Zone, yeah. Who knows for how much longer, but Noodle Zone indeed.
Chobra. Right, in fact, let's start there. Let's actually start right there. We got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, we're going to talk somewhat about the playoffs, who we think will make it to champs, all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk actually about a lot of other things that I think are important. But first, let's start there. Will Nongshim make it back to Tier 1 now that they are in the Ascension tournament? And I'll ask you this as well. Will Boom make it back?
Nongshim, 99%. Nongshim will make it back.
99%. That is high.
Yes. I mean, it's in my mind, it's 100, but it's Valorant. You never know. You never know what's going to happen, right? Obviously, it's not like we're doing like full Swiss or whatever. So, it could happen. But I am very confident that Nongshim will make it back, especially because you just have to now get to the grand finals, right? You don't actually have to win the entire thing since both Nongshim and Boom are back in Ascension. So I have 99% faith. Boom, though. I think they should, but my faith in them would be more like a 70%.
Okay. Do you know much? I know you used to keep up with the Korean Tier 2 scene. Are you aware of some of the Pacific? Is there some obvious favorites of some Tier 2 other APAC teams?
Right. Not as much as I was last year at this point in time. Obviously, I will be spending some time. But basically, I think the kind of known favorites for each region have already made it through. Korea is the only one, actually, that is still waiting to find out who's going to qualify to Ascension. And that'll happen next week. So I think it's all kind of the known candidates that everyone expected throughout the year. And they're all pretty strong. But I think the biggest advantage that any Tier 1 team that has to go back to Ascension will have is simply you've had a year long of scrimming and playing against tougher opponents, and you surely learned a lot. And I think both Boom and Nongshim showcased that they had many opportunities to learn, and that they did learn from those. So I think they should be fairly favored.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would be a shock if Nongshim, who you could argue have made a roster upgrade, and also, as you say, I've been playing against Tier 1 teams, and considering what I was trying to show here is that last year in Ascension, I mean, they didn't lose a map until the grand final anyway. And that, they literally 2-0'd everyone on their way to the grand final, which, as you say, would be enough anyway. You wouldn't even need to win the grand final this year. So yeah, it would be very shocking if you're Noodle Boys. But then again, never underestimate the Chobra curse. Never, ever underestimate the Chobra curse. So yeah, we will see. We will see. Speaking of curses, you wouldn't want to get cursed in a poker game. And luckily for you, I know just the solution to make sure that you're winning all of your poker games. Whether you're new to poker or a long-time player, then the place to go is Raise Your Edge. Because Raise Your Edge has been helping thousands of people get better at poker, and the creator Ben CB is a professional poker player who's been crushing it for 13 years. And right now is the perfect time to go to Raise Your Edge because you can get 25% off with a 14-day money-back guarantee if you use the link in the description or the pinned comment. So if you want to get into poker, now is the time to raise your edge with Raise Your Edge. But now, back to the podcast. What I wanted to do today, because obviously, we're halfway through the playoffs. We know 12 of the 16 teams that are going to champs, right? So we know a decent amount of the teams. We're just waiting on some of those final slots, and we'll get into that towards the end. But I thought that this was the best time because obviously, next time I do one of these Cosmic Divides, it'll be probably just before champs, and the episode will all be about predicting what's going to happen in champs. Right? And then after champs, everyone will just be talking about what happened in champs. So I thought that this is an interesting time because what we're in the midst of now is we're in the weeds of champ points. And people were bringing it up to me on stream, about do MIBR deserve to go to champs? Do I want to see MIBR at champs? And you could say a similar thing for DRX, for instance, right? In Pacific, would I rather just, because if I think about it, how I feel, I would rather see Talon right now go to champs than DRX. Do you agree, Choba?
Yes.
You agree?
Yes, 100%.
Exactly. So we're in this weird state where it's like, why champ points exist is obvious, right? Like, if let's take Fnatic, right? Fnatic would be a prime example of this. If champ points didn't exist at all, and Fnatic weren't going to champs, you'd be like, what the hell? They finished second in the last Masters. I want to see them go to champs, like, obviously. So there is clearly a reason for champ points, but there does also seem to be some situations that maybe, like mean that you're not that excited to see certain teams play, right? Like,
sure.
Like, and another example I would give you as well is, like, if you think about what champ points are meant to do, right? They're meant to get the teams there that have kind of been important throughout the year, right? The T1s, one Masters one, they're meant to be there, right? You want your Masters winners to both make it. You want, like, teams that have made deep runs, Fnatic, for instance, to be in these events. Maybe Wolves should be there as well. Maybe Wolves should be there as well. Who knows? But I do think that the system might need some tweaking again. Last year we had the problem where Heretics finished second in all these tournaments and got no champ points for it, and it was like, oh, that's not a good idea. This year I do think it's better, but I think it could still be improved. Where are you? Let's just get an overall takeaway from you, Chobra. Do you like the current system as currently implemented?
I think it is mostly fine, to be honest, because my take actually with the points is, I think your take on that it's supposed to, I guess, highlight the teams that have, like, gone deep, right, at certain parts of the year, is a very competitive take on how point systems or why point systems exist. My belief is that this exists right now, at least from Riot's POV, just to favor, some level of consistency, but that also gives you a team that will most likely be the upset team, right? Like, they've always been good enough. They could do well, or maybe they shined only in one meta, and who knows, they might come back. So it gives you a very easy opening for at least one team having that narrative, rather than, hey, it's just the best of the best and they're currently at the best meta. The other reason I'm okay with it is, usually the meta is going to change going into champs one way or another, whether it's a patch, whether it's maps, and regardless. So just favoring stage 2 doesn't really make sense anyway, right? Because things are going to change. Like, Icebox is going to disappear. So I don't think there's really any point in going all in. However, I'm just going to say this outright. Different regions having different tiebreaker rules is dumb. Like, that is just dumb, regardless of which one is better, right? Like, I think it's stupid. Like, there's actually just no place for that, especially if you're going to call it VCT, right? If you were just, if this was all third party and you said, we're going to give, whoever in Americas to do this. Yeah, sure. It still kind of sucks, but that's fine. But, like, you made this whole thing VCT, and then you're telling me VCT has different rules. That feels bad. And then looking at it deeper, I don't like the way they did it in Americas, because, thankfully, I guess in MIBR's case, at least they had a lot of head-to-heads with a lot of these teams. But, like, what if you only played them once at kickoff, right? Like, is that what's going to determine your year-long performance credit? Like, that would be very unfortunate. So I do think the way the other regions are doing it, where it's like, okay, we've already brought both of you to light for your year-long performance, but at the end of the day, then it's whoever did better, like, now. Is, like, the safest way to do it. Yeah,
I completely agree with that. Having a different rule set, as you say, it just makes absolutely no sense. Like, I didn't even know that was the case. And also, it has played out in a very strange way this year as well, that it just so happens that MIBR had the head-to-head over literally everyone. Like, somehow they had managed to win exactly the games that they needed against every single team, to where they had the head-to-head over literally all of these teams. Like, unbelievable, really, that was the case. It's almost like how, like, you've managed to win and to finish on 9 points and make it to champ. Just look at this table here. Look at this table in Americas. It's so stupid. And MIBR, I think, are the case that, is bringing up this discussion. Like, this discussion could be the MIBR champs clause, of like, is this a good idea? And I was telling people, like, well, if we ran this, 10 times, you probably wouldn't get another team getting in on 9 points. Like, because for a team to get in on 9 points, you essentially also do need this to happen, where you have two teams who are just hoarding the points for themselves. Like the don't give any points to anyone else. So I think this is an exceptionally rare case. And yes, I definitely agree with you that doing it in a different way, doing it like there was a case where I think if Crew came like 4th and NRG came 3rd and one of NRG2 didn't make the top 2, there was a case where, Crew would make it over NRG because they played NRG twice and they both won 2-1 against each other, 1 each, but Crew won 1 more round in that game. Like, imagine if it would have come down to that Crew had won 1 more round in those games that they played against each other. People would be losing, NRG would be losing their minds if that was the case. But yeah, definitely agree with that in terms of, the different styles. Not a good idea. What I would say though, Chobra. You go. No, you go. Talk.
I just wanted to say, originally, I actually thought, I told people that I actually think America's Ways is better just because it focuses on the whole year, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's still like, okay, whole year matchup. But then I realized it all falls apart because we don't have full round robin. You're not actually guaranteed to play against every team. So like every part, every stage. So if we had that, I actually think I might change my mind and say America's system is probably what everyone should be using because you're guaranteed to play each other 3 times a year. But it's the same thing with like the whole Ascension and kind of tiebreaker with points as well. Of like, well, if you're not playing everybody, how does that feel fair? So that's really the crux of it when I think about it with the points.
Yeah. That's again another amazing point from William Chobra. He's look at him, just so smart. Everything he says, just font of wisdom coming out. But what I get, because I was totally on board as well. Like, I've been saying on my streams, like, I think champ points, it's absolutely fine, all of that. And you say it like, it rewards consistency, which is true, it does. But there is a part of me that does feel like, in terms of, and again, Riot has said this many, many times, right? Like, they care most about the viewers. Right, I always remember Leo at Lock-In, he was talking about, people complaining at Lock-In, but you're going to fly everyone to Brazil to play 1 game and go home? And he was like, yeah, and we don't care. We care about the viewers. We don't care. Like, yeah, it's their job. Do it or don't. Yeah. And I think, has stuck with me. And that seems to be what Riot wants, right? They want what's good for the viewers, essentially, first and foremost. And as a viewer, I do think I would rather see, the teams that, as I say, have kind of narratively been more important, right? And the teams that are narratively more important are teams that are going deep in it, particularly teams that are going deep in internationals, and particularly teams that are maybe winning stages, right? Like your grand final of a stage plus, the top 4 teams, let's say, in an international. And I do think that right now the system is rewarding too much winning a random group stage match in week 5 of stage 2 that doesn't even mean anything, right? Or like barely anyone cares about. And like that game doesn't hold any weight in people's minds of like, oh, these are the best teams. This is where I've kind of come down on it, Chobra, which is, if I'm fine with the point system existing as it is, but I think there should be even heavier rewards for winning, like internationals. Top 4 at an international should be like a heavier reward, a heftier reward, versus you finished 4-1 in stage 1. Like for instance, Crew are a good example, right? They I think they did win 4 or 5 games in stage 1 group stage,
right?
And they've accumulated most of their points from just winning those games. But when I think about Crew this entire year, like, they hold no weight in my mind of being an actually good team this year. Like, if have Crew actually been a good team this year? No.
Questionable.
Like, yeah, not really. And so if I was going to rejig it, I think I would put more weight on the internationals and maybe grand finals of a stage, because I think that those, like, I want those teams to be at champs again. I do want those teams to be champs again because they play well when it matters most.
But that doesn't really change anything really, other than, and I'm not trying to drive a
Yeah,
point
I know
here,
it's a
but other
Wolves
than
thing.
for Wolves. Yeah, other than for Wolves, it doesn't really change anything for this year, right? Because it would just
But
increase
yeah,
the
I
gap
understand for
between
this year.
the teams
Yes,
that
I
have
do
going.
understand. But let's
Yeah,
let's take T1, right? Let's say T1
sure,
had repeated their stage 1 performance.
sure.
I kind of would
You would
still,
still want to,
I would kind of
yeah.
still want the Masters 1 winners to be at champs. I still would kind of want it. And I understand that, like, you can't just, like, guarantee a slot of saying, oh, you won Masters 1, so that's your slot at champs guaranteed. But at the same time, I'm actually not that against that idea either, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree that international wins definitely don't feel as impactful. I agree that you could give a little bit more, because it, especially like the first Masters, it feels very, it almost feels still worse to stay there for that long and then, not do well at stage 1.
Yeah.
But I would also argue from a broadcast perspective, and I've thought about this a lot, both last year and this year, I just don't think the broadcast does a good enough job of tying together the whole year. And I'm not saying like the individual talent or anything, and not singling it out, but I just think as a package, right? Whether it's the social media posts and then tying that into the broadcast and the desk and the casters, like, I'm not saying you have to, yell about points like every single time, like they get this 1 point, first week of stage 1, who knows, like you don't have to say that, but kind of just build that in of like, okay, well, this is gonna matter. Or for T1, like I think that's, in some ways you could have made that more exciting of, okay, T1 did well, everyone wants to see them again, but can they prove that they deserve to be there by winning enough group stage matches in stage 2 or whatever. So I think maybe thinking that we should highlight that a bit more for the viewers would make sense, because I agree that yes, points are good for the casual viewer, but also if you don't mention it until literally like, the last week of playoffs of stage 2, then it actually makes it more confusing for the casual viewer of like, wait, what? Like, what are these points? Like, what's going on here? So it might just be that there's not enough of a balance there. But Masters 1 for sure, I would agree that, maybe some more points, or I don't know, something else.
Yeah. That, I mean, it's again another font of wisdom point there from William Chober, just smashing out of the park this podcast. Literally every word is just correct. I'm just finding myself going, God, this guy's a genius. Yeah, he's thought this through. He's absolutely right. Whenever I'm watching the broadcast, like I feel like on my stream I'm having to go and explain to people like, oh, this is what this means. There's always people chirping up in the comments being like, oh, does this game mean anything for this? And it's like, well, yes, it does. If this team loses here, and that's another thing though that you did bring up, which is the champs point system. I found myself a lot, and I'm the kind of person who likes all the permutations and doing the, oh, if they win this and they lose this and they do that, and oh, look, Team Liquid win because Heretic's lost. Like I am that guy who enjoys it, but I know that a lot of people, they don't have time for that. They don't have time for like, oh, fucking this team lost, so this team's in. What? Why the fuck does that? They're not even playing. Like I understand that for some people it's just like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense. And that is one of the downsides of this, champs point system in general. But again, I think we agree that like points need to stay, because at a certain point, like you can't just have everything beyond stage 2, because that would be too chaotic. That would be too messy. And for instance, like Fnatic wouldn't be in champs, and everyone would be like, yeah, I want to see Fnatic in champs. But at the same time, I have been thinking about this, and this like, I do feel there's maybe too much emphasis on like random group stage wins against bad teams. And especially because, as you mentioned, like it's not a full round robin, right?
Yeah.
So hey, I got to play Apex twice. I got to play Furia twice. I got 2 free points, right? Versus in some groups, I didn't get any free wins because all these teams are actually fairly decent. Like,
yeah,
that I think is also a bit of a problem. And again, I personally would just prefer if they did do, like they did last year, where one stage is against one group.
You just
and
swap.
Then, you just swap the groups that you play. Cause just like within your group, you are still playing the same team, so it's like it's not that crazy. So yeah, maybe we'll go back to that. I kind of hope, and we get an extra game out of it. which I'm for as well. But if they don't do that, I have
yeah.
been thinking about the Bren idea. Now, the Bren idea,
Uh-oh.
for those of you who don't know, this is one of Bren's, I think, few, coherent thoughts.
Okay.
There's a lot of jumbled mess in Bren's mind sometimes, but every so often he'll spit out a fact. And I do think you could keep the champs point system, but what if instead of a group stage and, a playoffs, what if we did run like 2 kickoff style tournaments? What if we did just run tournaments and gave points for people in terms of qualifying for Masters and Champs, and just run tournament brackets instead? Tournament brackets are, I think, generally a bit more fun, right? They're a bit more. Oh, you.
Yeah. Well, I just think you still have the issue of like, well, we got wrecked with the bracket or the seeding if it's like point based. Like if it's just whoever makes it to the top, then kind of that's okay.
Well, I think with like seeding and stuff, you could still have like the first part of it be kind of random draws. I guess one of the problems you would have is like they do in kickoff, and I know that people thought that this was a little bit strange, is you've got a 12 team thing, so they gave 4 teams a bye.
Yeah, that too.
So that would be one of the big headaches right now with a 12 team going on, because it's not easy to create a 12 team bracket that doesn't have buys in it. And I assume this will happen next year as well, where the 4 champs teams will get buys in kickoff again. I assume.
Yeah.
So
probably
that would be a problem. But I was just thinking like if you did just run little tournaments and gave people points for like you don't get any points unless you finish in the top 4 of those tournaments each time. You ramp up how many points you get throughout the year in those little tournaments. That would feel maybe a little bit. I feel like that would maybe work a little bit better. But then at the same time, if you run tournament formats, it's very busy for people like me, TMV. You have very busy periods and very quiet periods, and that would create a lot of stress for me. So maybe don't do that, right? For my sake, and Chobra's sake.
Yeah. The consistency is nice sometimes.
Yes, it is. Right. That was a discussion I wanted to have, because I think it's interesting right now to talk about that, because we're in the midst of it. And again, once we're past this next weekend, no one will care about champ points ever again, because we'll know the teams are qualified. No one will ever talk about it. But I do think it was interesting because a lot of people, I think, have been bringing it up recently. And we have had some fairly extreme cases like MIBR that normally wouldn't be the case. Anyway, moving on to our next topic. And the next one I want to talk about is another kind of, not format issue necessarily, but I wanted to talk about visa stuff, because particularly in Pacific, this has come up recently. And the first thing I want to ask you, Trober, is I don't even know where we are right now. So as far as I'm aware, Patman might not play in Japan, because he needs to get his visa for Paris, and he needs to be there to get the visa for Paris, right?
Yes.
And RRQ are also having similar sort of troubles.
Yes.
I don't know anything
as much.
Do you? What's going on? Tell me. You're a Pacific guy. Tell me what's going on.
So Patman, I know a lot, just because obviously we have and had, even more in the past, members of the broadcast team that were from the Philippines as well. So the Philippines, notoriously hard to get visas, or it just takes a while. Sometimes it feels random. But notably, you cannot leave anywhere else for any other reason if you're in the midst of applying for a visa. And so you have to stay put, you have to stay at home. And so that's the biggest issue with Patman, is that he got his visa for Tokyo, but since they don't know when his visa will be approved for Paris, he can't leave until that comes out, right? And he just has to stay at home. With RRQ, it sounds like it is, mainly Xfero is the only one that kind of like, tweeted out an ominous smiley face on his own. So it's, we're assuming that's him, but it sounds like it's the Indonesian players that may have issues. I don't know if it's exactly the same scenario, but what I'm gathering is it's also not just because of how hard it is sometimes for some of these Pacific regions to get visas to leave, but also it's kind of doubles down because it's even more difficult, or it's a more arduous process to get them to go to countries within the Schengen area. So that makes it even worse. Like, it's not just, another trip to Tokyo or wherever else in Asia, but because of that agreement and how that visa process works, it sounds like that is the bigger difficulty. And for teams that already know that they're going to Champs, obviously you're not going to risk not having your player at the first week of Champs versus Tokyo, right? You're like, I mean, it sucks, but we'll play with a sub at Tokyo because we're going to Champs. We want to make sure we start off, with the full roster.
Yeah. Yeah. Which obviously, I mean, it might just kind of ruin this specific, like lower and grand final.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I didn't realize this, but they're starting at 7 a.m. my time. They're starting a couple hours earlier than they normally do. I mean, oh my god. I saw this on VLR and I was like, oh no, they're playing in Japan. I forgot.
I didn't realize either, actually.
Yeah, so it's gonna be it's gonna be so early for me. I'm gonna be dead. I'm gonna be absolutely dead. It reminds me that
this is actually great for me because I needed to find a slot to nap before so that I could grind Path of Exile after EMEA and Americas are done. So like I can nap after Pacific and then I'll be good to go for the whole night. That's great.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a pain for me. I mean, it does. You know what's weird? Yeah. I remember Masters Tokyo was 4 a.m. my time is when it was starting, and at first I was like, "Oh my god, this is horrible." And then you know what? After like the second day, I was like, "This is so great," because it ends and it's like it's 10 a.m.
Yeah,
and it's like I got a whole day in front of me. It's 10 a.m. Everyone else is just like starting their day. It's like, wow, I'm done. Cool. Like I felt it was really nice. It was like just me up, just me and the birds, and I think Tokyo was in the summer as well, so it was like here in the UK the sun will come up at like 5 at the height of summer, so it was like nice. It was still light outside for most of it, and it was nice. It was peaceful and it was nice, and I enjoyed it, and I felt very old. It felt like a very old person thing, to wake up super early and be like happy with the peacefulness of it all. But anyway, let's get back to some visas before we talk about we'll get to the games later on and stuff like that and talking about what's going to go on. But like visas, let me just ask you this, Troba. So like let's say that this doesn't go well, right? Let's say the RQ have to play with a sub or two. Let's say Paper X are playing with a sub. Let's say all that happens, and we still get a grand final, we still get a lower final. Like there's still like. Still, Valorant is being played, it's still fun, whatever, but it's not like... It does feel perhaps a little bit, tainted. It doesn't feel like fully real. Again, as someone who's, worked on the Pacific broadcast and stuff, do you think that this would make them shy away from doing things like this in the future?
I think yes, but it would grossly depend on the community reaction, I think, because the main reason they're doing this is for the fans, like outright. It is not for the teams and players, right? Obviously, you don't want to have to do extra travel or whatever. It's strictly for the fans because they've talked about it, not just because fans have requested it, but I know that they've always had it in mind of, hey, like we're supposed to be Pacific, right? Being just in Korea, which is a completely different country for 75% of our teams and way more of our fan base of Pacific doesn't make sense, but logistical reasons, that's what we're doing. Just overall footprint, cost, yada yada yada. So they've wanted to do it, but things have been suggested of like, well, what if you take like kickoff and do it somewhere else or whatever? And I'm sure they've considered it, but I'm sure it just doesn't work out, like financially, the numbers, the visas, and all that. So most likely the decision was, okay, travel time short. We've been to Tokyo, right? We've run an event there before internationally. We know it can work. We know the fan base is there, so they will show up no matter which teams qualify. So let's do this. And then I'm sure they ran the simulations. Like it feels like, the whole reason we have this like 2 weeks and then the 2 weeks after, it's like, okay, we have this in place. I honestly don't know because I've seen countless times, not just in VCT, but just in general, of whether it's the game company's fault, whether it's the TO's fault, whether it's the team's fault, or even sometimes just the player individually messing up right in the visa process. Like you should have known that it takes a while and you just didn't do your due diligence. So I don't think it's easy to point fingers. Also, I don't know in detail how difficult it can be for some of these regions, right? Like, for instance, the Philippines, I only really found out last year talking to Asarai and Mika and, listening to their woes of trying to get back to Korea, like each stage of like, well, can we go back? Like we're contracted to work earlier, but could we make it? So, it's, I think a lot of people have to understand that you can't take it for granted just because you have an easier time, right? Like, sometimes it's like, oh, well, it takes 2 weeks, but it's guaranteed. It's like some of these regions, it's not. So um, I can't speak on that either. But I do think it's good. I think they should do more of these. I think they should do more of these, and I do think we should point out that this sucks. But I would hope that we shouldn't be like, wow, this was the worst idea ever from Riot, right?
Mm.
Because that does put them in a hard spot. I mean, listen, I'm not in the school of wanting to defend Riot for all of their decisions. However, I do think it's good for them to want to give back to more regions of Pacific, and I think it has to be a slow buildup. Having worked on the event side, it's not easy, and I do think we need to keep that in consideration. I think we need to make it clear we want this. It's just this certain scenario really sucks.
Yeah, and I think China and EMEA are kind of a bit different. Obviously, China is its own,
Yes.
like that. Obviously, wouldn't have this problem necessarily if they wanted to, go to somewhere else in China. They'd be fine. And EMEA, I feel like, the only real sub-region is kind of Turkey. You've kind of got like, in terms of like the teams and stuff like that, like, like if you wanted to run something in Turkey, like, yeah, that would be kind of the same, I guess, as going from maybe like Korea to Tokyo, like not like a crazy travel distance or anything, but for the most part, everything else, it's not big of a deal. And then you've got Americas and Pacific, like you say, who are, have like, but each of those two is quite separate, right? Like in Americas, you've somewhat got North America, South America, right, and that divide.
Yeah.
Whereas in Pacific, it is a real. There's like, there's this and there's that, and then there's this, and then have you thought about this, and what about that, right? Like,
Oh.
So Pacific, I think, is in a unique place in terms of there might be a bit more pressure to do these kind of things in general.
Yeah. The only other thing, there's definitely more pressure for sure. I think also just because each sub-region actually has a very big following, like in Valorant, right? Like now everyone, it's coming to light for everybody now that Vietnam actually has like a huge following with more Vietnamese players like getting their time, whether it's in Pacific or China. So it's not just, the known regions, but obviously Indonesia, et cetera, Philippines. But I think the other thing to consider is, again, this part I'm not privy to the details, but let's say it turns out that there's just no good way to guarantee even like a 95% success rate of visas with like a 2-week window.
Yeah.
There's a chance that just shuts it down because there's no way you're separating the finals for longer than that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the only other option would be like, I guess the whole of playoffs, maybe. Right. But even then, like group stage and then 3 weeks until playoffs feels really bad. And then the calendar gets all messed up with other regions. So it could just be that, maybe there's just no good way to do it, and that would suck. And the only other option left would be if they can do like a whole kickoff in another region. And so that would be
that's the thing. Like it's so like doing a whole kickoff. Like I would love it. It would be that is the solution if it is possible. The problem with that is money, right? That would be the money
it's like master's
problem.
level at that point.
It would be amazing to run a kick. Like I've always said, they should in Americas they should run kickoff in Brazil. That would be a great idea. You put it in Brazil, get everyone there. Like visa wise, North America to Brazil won't be as bad as Brazil to North America. Like, so that should be a bit easier for everyone. Same in Korea, same in Pacific. Sorry, right? Like, run kickoff in a different place every year, right? Like run it in Japan, run it in Indonesia, run it in the Philippines. Like travel around Pacific for kickoff. That would be amazing. Sick. But then you're essentially just running like a mini Masters tournament. And Riot probably is like, we don't want to run a mini Masters tournament budget-wise for kickoff, which, probably isn't going to be the most viewed thing of the season, right? Like, I mean, there'll be a bit of interest because it's the start of a year, but like, also people will be, maybe not as entwined with the stories and be like, who the hell's this team? I don't even know any players on this team. Who do I care? All that kind of stuff. So... But yes, if we could just print infinite money in esports, that would be good. That would be good. The other solution is the UN gives people who have certain jobs just you go where you want. Just here's a go where you want ticket. Go where you want. You know?
What do you think is more likely? Getting where you want ticket or printing infinite money?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Honestly, both are exactly 0%, so I guess neither is more likely. So yeah,
True.
I don't think there is. Don't think there is any chance of that happening.
No.
Whatsoever. Anyway, that's visa stuff. I mean, again, you know, the visa stuff, unlike the champ points thing, that will rear its ugly head at some other point, I'm sure. Maybe even during champs, to be honest. I mean, even during champs, you know, maybe that will come back up. Hopefully not. Because, like, for instance, if Paper X went to champs without Pac-Man, you know, that would be very, very sad. That would be extremely, extremely sad. But yeah, hopefully things are okay. Maybe Riot just needs it. You know what? Start running tournaments in the places with the easiest to go. I don't care, you know, where we go.
Yeah.
Let's go somewhere that, like, they're just like, yeah, come here. Yeah.
That's another solution.
Like,
it really
a Pacific Island. If you're on those Pacific Islands, there's no way they're being, like, super strict. You know, they're laid back.
Yeah.
Let's go to Micronesia. You know? That's part of Pacific. Technically, it is part of Pacific, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
So there you go. Anyway, that's visa talk. And again, these things, hopefully Pacific isn't ruined by this, but who knows. Let's move on to our next thing. Just talking about Pacific and the other regions. Chobra, now is an interesting time. As I said at the start of the show, we know 12 of the 16 teams that are going to champs. We know the 4 Chinese teams. We know 3 Americas teams. We know 3 Pacific teams. And we know 2 EMEA teams. So there's only 4 slots left. There's 1 America's slot. There's one Pacific slot between Talon and DRX, and there's 2 EMEA slots left up for grabs. So we have, even if we don't know all of the teams, we know a fair amount of the teams. Okay?
Yeah.
A fair amount of the teams that are going to be going. And I just want you to kind of give me, let's go region by region first and give some comments, and then at the end we'll create a definitive ranking of where we think the regions are overall as strength. Let's start with the region you're most familiar with. Let's start with Pacific, okay? So
yeah,
and we later on can I kind of, you know, go a bit deeper on some of the teams if you want, but just to recap for everyone, the teams that are going to champs from Pacific right now: Paper X, T1, RRQ, and then it's one of Talon or DRX. Now, we both said before we would prefer it to be Talon, so let's just make that dream a reality. Let's just say
yes. I need it to be Talon. Like, I don't have anything against DRX, but Talon is just definitively the better team right now. Like, I need it to be Talon.
Now, you don't need to go into any of these teams like, well, you can. You say what you want. But where do you think, like, that pack of teams, how are you feeling about them as Pacific? Because obviously Pacific are going for their 3rd international of the year here. They're trying to win it all.
Yeah.
Give me, maybe not just necessarily, I mean, we could do this as well, where we rank them in terms of who's most likely to win, or regions most likely to win, and then just the overall strength. Let's start with the overall strength. Do you feel like, you know, whether it is Talon or DRX, do you feel like that is a good group to be sending from Pacific? Do you feel like they've got a good shot?
I think they're very good. I think first of all, I do think the 3 that we have so far are absolutely deserving of going, right? Like, I don't think any of them are kind of in a question mark area. So within Pacific, I think all the Pacific fans should feel pretty good. I would say that just objective power level, I think these are all teams that you can have faith in, right? Some may be a bit more of that upset power, like upset team, but you know, I don't think you're looking at any of the confirmed teams and then let's assume it's Talon, right? I don't think you're looking at them and being like, yeah, we got no hope for them. No, I think all of them have that. The only thing for me is actually, I'm hoping and I'm assuming that RQ is going to have learned from their first international outing, right? And that was a very big pilot run, big meta change, first time for a lot of these players, you know, traveling across the world, time zones, whatever. So I'm willing to always give a second shot for anyone where it's their first time going. But if they, for some reason, can't adapt again, then that really ruins a lot of things. Because to me, T1 and Talon are both kind of more a dark horse team in different ways. T1 obviously very experienced, but the way they're, the meta they're playing, I mean, throughout the whole year, they're very much more based still on like aims and frags and trading. So that, you're going up against the best. You never know what's going to happen. But that's something that could always give you the exact power you need to beat someone that is actually just better than you because you just outfrag them. So Talon, obviously, also kind of in a similar boat. I would say that Talon's a bit more structured in terms of what ideas they're bringing, and they have a better, clear idea. But if RRQ feels stable enough, then I feel like we're sending Paper Rex really, obviously, really solid team throughout the whole year. They're really good. They're in a good spot. RRQ is more kind of that stable. Okay, we know they're at least probably going to make like playoffs or whatever, and then we'll see how it goes. And then T1 and Talon's like, we know their peaks are good. So, okay, this feels good. If I were to give them a grade, I would say that this is A tier group of teams we're sending, not S tier, but A tier, right? I feel okay about all four having a shot of going deep.
Interesting. One question when you were bringing up T1 that I thought there was, and I'm just going to ask you this now again because you're a Pacific expert.
Okay.
Let's assume Talon go first. How would you rank the Pacific teams 1 to 4?
I would actually go Paper X 1.
Yeah.
Talon 2. T1 3, RRQ 4.
Wow, you put RRQ in 4th place. Okay, that is not what I expected you to say. Tell me why are RRQ below T1 particularly?
Specifically for champs. For champs.
So you're seeing a bit of mental crumble essentially.
No, I actually it's more so that I think T1 will thrive more in that world, in that scenario, right? Like
give the positive
still kind of like
it's not that RRQ will be bad. No, T1 will thrive.
Well, right. But that is what it is though. I just think T1 because hold on, let me explain myself. Because objectively, I would put RRQ above T1 any day in their current form. I don't think RRQ goes any lower. I just think at a scenario like champs where it is essentially just a big bracket, right? Group stage is kind of a bracket as well. T1 has the potential to reach their peak more consistently, which I think might be higher, or we've seen it be higher than RRQ. Whereas RRQ is very consistent, their average is much higher, and they do have a good peak, but that, I don't think that they don't use that as their weapon. That's kind of the fallback, like worst case scenario. Whereas T1 lean into it, and they're like, you know what? That's what we're good at. Let's lean into it. Let's, just throw people out there to take fights and we'll win. So I just think that they have a little bit more of that upset power. But I mean, RRQ, it's hard to tell. They turned a new leaf going to the lower bracket in Pacific. The comeback wins. It's strong.
Yeah.
Strong.
Yeah. Can I assume if DRX were in there instead, you would just put them 4th?
Yes. In fact, I wouldn't have any hope for them to do any damage at champs. The worst. They make me so mad because I really want to see Hyunmin on an international stage again. I really do. I think he's so exciting. Like to me, the top 2 prospects from this year outside of Nongshim that I've been excited about are like Kayak, Hyunmin. Like these are the 2 guys where I'm like, dude, I want to see them like over the years. But I don't want to see Hyunmin have to sit there and battle through an entire war zone on his own and not find success. And that's what's going to happen if DRX goes. Like, I'm sorry. I just can't, in good faith, say that they'll do damage if they go. I just can't.
DRX been to every champs? Well, was Vision Strikers at the first champs?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So they have been. So this would be the one that they miss.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, so if they miss this, that would be the first time they ever made it. That's crazy.
It would be big. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It would be big.
In fact, I off the top of my head, I was thinking, how many teams have been to every champs? I think Fnatic have.
Fnatic.
Have Sentinels been to every champ? No, I don't think they made one in 2020.
No, they didn't make 23 or so. Yeah, they didn't make 23.
Let's not just fucking go through it. Let's not quit because people can Google that and they'll just be like, it's these teams, idiot. It's these teams. What? Come on, you should go. Anyway, let's not do that. But okay, so you're feeling overall, you're feeling good. You're feeling positive about Pacific. Can I just ask you this question?
Very positive.
In terms of winning the tournament, in terms of having a Pacific winner, do you feel like any team can win it other than Paper Rex?
That's the thing. If Talon goes, they are
wow.
my
You think
de
Talon
facto
could win
dark
champs?
horse.
You think Talon
if they
could win
go,
champs?
they are my de facto dark horse pick. They are my hot take pick. Like no matter who else makes it from any other region, if they make it,
wow.
I think that's enough for them to unlock a little bit more consistency to hit that ceiling that they have. And I think their ceiling can win champs. I think their ceiling can win champs.
That's a crazy take, Talon. I don't think most people would agree with you there, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the take because
I don't think Frost would agree with me.
You're right. You're right in a sense because, like, whoever is going to win champs is going to hit their ceiling, right? Like,
yes,
this is one thing that we all missed last year with EDG, which is whoever wins is going to hit their ceiling. So if you're like, if you think that team has a super high ceiling, well, then you think they can win champs. Like, it's that simple. And like, you know, for instance, like Team Heretics, they could have won Masters Toronto if they hit their ceiling. Instead, they hit their floor, and they were terrible, right? Like, but going into the tournament, they could have done it because they have a high ceiling. Same with champs. If Heretics make it to champs, you know, even though they've looked shaky, and we'll get into that in a second, but even though they've looked shaky, well, if they hit their ceiling, though, they could win champs. Like, they are one of those teams. So I'm not quite sure I would put Talon quite there, but I do agree with you that like they could, like, if they hit their ceiling, like, it's not impossible because their ceiling is pretty high. I do have to admit their ceiling is pretty high.
Yeah.
And so you never know. You never know. But I mean, that's interesting. That's a hot take. That is a hot take. So basically,
it's very hot.
I don't think anyone could be more different in terms of how desperately they want Talon to make. You really want RRQ to just not even go to Japan. Like, you're just praying they don't even go. Because you basically said, like, okay, I think Talon can win this tournament. I don't think DRX will do anything. Like, you could you could not be more different on the two teams.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's just because we've been crushed by them 4 times this year. Like, who knows? But I just really like the ceilings they've shown because it's not just aim duels anymore. And I think there's a lot to that. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the talent roster.
Okay, let's talk then about a different region and the strength of them, which is EMEA. Let's go to EMEA. Okay, so here's where we are in EMEA. And EMEA, if you haven't, I mean, I assume most of you watching this have seen at least some of the EMEA playoffs. It's been a mess. It's been a chaotic mess. Basically, if there was a favorite in a game, they lost. Almost every game. Almost every game, the favorite has lost, essentially. Team Heretics might miss champs. There was such a slim, like, going into the playoffs, considering the Heretics were starting, you know, they had a bye to start off with. They'd won all their group stage games. They were second on points when it started on 14. The chances of Heretics not making champs, I think if you ask, like, you know those for tournaments and stuff, they run those supercomputer models and like World Cup and stuff. And say, like, oh, this team's got a 3% chance to win, all that stuff. I think Team Heretics probably had maybe, somewhere around a 2-3% chance of not making champs. I would bet at the start of playoffs. Like, it was extremely unlikely. There was so many things that had to happen. It was never gonna happen, right? Now we have entered the stage where if Team Liquid, who have already made champs, if they don't win one of their next 2 games, if they don't make it to the grand final against a team in BBL who look better than them right now, to be honest, and then against one of Navi or Giants who will have had to have gone on quite a run to get there as well, then Heretics will miss champs, which would be absolutely insane. And we talk about MIBR making champs with 9 points. Heretics have 14 and might not make it. They have a full 5 points more. That's 5 group stage games win difference to MIBR. That's a full every group stage game won. That's the equivalent of how many? I think that's the equivalent of winning. I think T1 got 5 points for winning Bangkok.
Something close to that, yeah.
So that's the equivalent of winning a Masters worth of points that MIBR and Heretics would have different. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane if they don't make it. But let's talk about it. So the teams that we know are going off, Fnatic and Liquid. Heretics still have a chance. If Heretics go, I would say then also BBL are still pretty likely to go, because you can see here the only way Navi and Giants make it is by making that top 2. And that's actually the same for BBL, I think. Is that the same for BBL? Yeah,
yes,
it is
I
now.
believe.
It is now, because they'd have to lose to one of Navi or Giants. But
yeah,
let's go into the realm of possibility of, let's say the top 4 make it here. Let's say the normal. Let's say we return to normalcy. The top 4 go: Fnatic, Liquid, Heretics, BBL.
Yeah.
Are you feeling good about that group? Because I think on paper you would feel good about that group, but on the eye test, maybe you would be a little more doubtful right now from what we've recently seen.
I think I might be higher on EMEA in some ways than Pacific.
Go on.
Yeah.
Tell me.
I think they just look really good. If it's the top 4 on paper, I think you basically have 2 like really, really time proven teams of Fnatic and Heretics, right? And then Liquid, obviously, individuals have been time proven, but I think they've really proved that they can like learn a lot right throughout this year. And then BBL, kind of the more wild stallion of EMEA. So it's a really good balance. The only thing is that I think most of these EMEA teams suffer from limited map pools, and that is going to matter a lot. So it just comes down to, can you add 1 or 2 more maps by champs? It's a short time period, but maybe you've been working on it. If they can do that, like, even it doesn't even have to be as good as the other maps. If it's just good enough, I think they might be more like on average more likely to go deeper than Pacific. But in their current map pool, it would imply that they would have to win every match so their map pool doesn't get exposed to go deep. So I think that's the difficulty, because going into playoffs, I actually expected a little bit more stability from like the top 2 or 3, and then like the limited map pool, but really, really good showings from these upset teams. But like Liquid, I mean, Fnatic for sure, but Fnatic at least, like, this is why I have faith in Fnatic, because like they've openly said that that's what they're working on. Like they're trying to do more new things because they know they're going to champs, and it's like, okay. But Liquid, I'm not quite sure if that is what's going on, because they definitely look shaky on maps they don't feel comfortable with. Heretics obviously just don't look comfortable really anywhere right now. So that's the danger. But if we're talking about peak and ceiling and whatnot, I would feel very good about the 4 teams of EMEA.
Yeah, I completely agree. If EMEA sent Fnatic, Liquid, Heretics, BBL, probably what would happen is one of those teams would probably not be able to fix their issues, right? They just like they just like not play well. I think BBL, to just quickly talk about them, they're playing insanely well. Like they are playing very, very well. And like the coaching, the adaptability on the fly, the Yampi's IGLing, everyone, like, this is the thing about BBL that's been true kind of this whole year. And I think why maybe they haven't got like some, like, I think about Lev, right? And like a lot of people before the Lev NRG game, I was getting a ton of people in my chat being like, oh, I want Lev to make champs. It'd be so cool if Lev made champs. Like, I really want to see Sato at champs. And I think things like that are teams like Lev are exciting because it's just like, whoa, this guy is crazy. Like, this player is insane. Whereas BBL have kind of just had like 5 very good players. And I feel like for people, it's harder to, like, everyone can recognize that, but it's harder to like get on board. It's like, wow, I'm so excited for this, because it's not just someone dropping, 35 kills every game, right? It's just not as exciting as, or like DFM is another good example, right? Like, I want to see May at champs. You don't necessarily want to see DFM at champs. You want to see May at champs, because May is destroying. When he was destroying, it's like May is destroying. I want to see Sato at champs. You don't really want to see Lev at champs. You want to see Sato at champs. Whereas BBL are that team of just like, everyone's on form. The coaching looks insanely good. The ideas they've got are insanely good. And it's all coming together at the right time. And I think the problem for BBL, and they do have some experience, Yampi's been to multiple tournaments, but and Magnum has as well, I suppose. But it would be a new environment for some of them, and there are certain teams like that that might crumble somewhat under, the different things. There is the advantage that, these EMEA teams, they aren't traveling far, right? They're going to Paris.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
I'm sure,
it's
I'm
huge.
honestly, probably most of them have been to France, but like most, a lot of Europeans have been to France anyway. Like, it's not like, oh, new
Yeah.
culture. Like, no, you've probably been there. So yeah, I think that BBL could do pretty well if it is one of the other teams, right? So if Heretics doesn't make it or BBL doesn't make it. By the way, Navi and Giants both can't make it together, like because they play each other. So only one of them two can go, and it kind of depends on the way it shakes out. But for these two, if these two went, I do think that obviously they wouldn't have the ceiling, because I'm kind of in that BBL. From what BBL have shown in their recent games, I'm kind of on the. I'm not where you are with Talon, but I'm in that similar mind space of like they could, like, I don't think they could win it, but I do think they could go deep if they played to their ceiling. I do genuinely think they could do some real damage in this tournament. So I'd be hopeful for BBL. If Navi or Giants went, I think Giants I wouldn't have a ton of hope for. Despite and again, I've been saying this on Plat Chat all year. Anytime we talk about Giants on Plat Chat, we're always dismissive. We're always like, this team doesn't do anything, and then obviously now they're playing really well. But I do think at Champs, like, they don't have a ton of, like, Cloud again has been to like some tournaments. Pipson's been to some tournaments as a coach, but the rest of the team would be completely new for them. They'd be they don't have a ton of experience playing against other regions. For Navi, obviously they got Angel and Xiao, who have a ton of experience, right? Like they wouldn't be, they'd be completely fine with it, I'm sure. But they do all. But the problem for Navi would be the three players who are kind of carrying them are not Angel and Xiao, right? Like they would need those three to also not struggle, who have never been to an international. So I would have some doubts about those teams if those two went. But for particularly Navi, if Ruxic and Hero play like they have been,
Ruxic's been insane.
Ruxic genuinely looks like if Navi make it, I'm gonna put Ruxic, I think, in the top 3 of my top 10 players for Champs. No joke. No joke.
Top 3.
I think
out of the world.
In the world. I think right now, because I like my list to be kind of like, a showcase of what's going on right now.
Sure,
Bro,
sure.
He's insane. He, like, in that game versus Team Heretics, I was saying this during that game, like, you'd be like, if you watch this game and like didn't know that much about the scene or whatever, you'd be like, this Team Heretics team, this guy's way better than any of their players. Like, it's not even close.
Yeah. No, he's a monster right now. I do also want to point out that Hero at least has been to Champs last year. So he did.
You're right. I forgot about that.
He does have a little bit. He does have, and that was with Fnatic as well. So I think there's probably a lot to glean on his part. But I agree with you, actually. I think it's also because Giants is exciting because we've always been dismissive of them, and now they look like a really solid team. Wait, hold on. You got to listen to the end. They look like a really solid team. That's why. Whereas solid isn't good enough to go deep at a Champs, right? Like it's an exciting trajectory. I think they'll do well, but like the most I would hope from any region, like a team that I would define that way, is playoffs. Like you get to playoffs, like, wow, okay, like that's pretty good. But I'm not really seeing the X factor, so to speak, right? Whether it's an individual, whether it's a certain style of Ruxic. But Navi, they've got Ruxic. So like, they got Ruxic and Hero. So you've got this extra flair. Xiao, obviously, an Angel, like goes wild with his ideas. There's just a bit more where I'm like, I know this team has a color and they know how to lean into it. So I would agree that I have a bit more faith in Navi than Giant X.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And this is the thing. I think if you're ranking regions in terms of who's most likely to win the tournament, I do think EMEA is first.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that again, assuming they send Heretics. Like, if they send Fnatic, Liquid, BBL, Giants, maybe then you're not feeling as good about them winning the tournament. But I do think if they send Heretics, then you've for sure got 3 teams who have the ceiling to potentially win.
Sure. Like we've
right?
seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it, and if they play at their very best, they are very good teams. And then if you do something like BBL as well, or even Navi, I think as well, and they reach their ceiling, they also could do quite a bit of damage at the tournament. So yeah, I do think that EMEA is in an interesting position and is probably to be fair, I mean, you've got exciting games in Americas, like, that America's lower game to decide who's going to go to champs is also quite exciting. And you've also got the Pacific game, which is also going to decide the last champ spot. But
Yeah.
it feels like EMEA, there's a lot at stake. There is a lot at stake in
Yes.
these games. Like, all of those games are going to be kind of crazy. Let's, before we go to Americas, let's quickly talk about China. We know who China are sending, unfortunately, to champs. It didn't go my way and Wolves' way. To be fair to DRG, like, if you're Wolves, there was literally, you had no hope. You had to root against DRG, and they finished second. And it's like, well, you had no hope, really, in terms of that stuff. We also know the seeds of these, by the way, as well, which is the way seeding works and the fact that it is top 2. Again, you could end up with some freaky groups here. There could be some freaky groups, like, you could end up with Heretics as a 4 seed. The Fnatic almost certainly will be a 3 seed, right? So there could be some crazy groups, by the way, in champs. Like, if the seeding, like, you could end up with Paper Rex, G2, Fnatic all in one group.
Yes.
Legit, that might be a group.
Wow. That actually.
And when you think about it like that,
it's just like Sen, Heretics, and Gen G again. It's
when you think about it like that, it's like, oh, that. Like, in fact, that's very much on the cards. Like, getting Paper X as a 1 seed, Sen or G2 as a 2 seed, and then Fnatic as a 3 seed, and then poor XLG gets sacrificed to the Wolves. But yeah, that's a group that could very realistically happen. Which obviously would mean one of those top 3 is not even making out of groups, which would be insane. Wow. Absolutely insane. But yeah, let's talk about China quickly then. This group of teams that they're sending. Now, we saw, like, again, if you were to rank their ceilings, I actually still think you'd probably put EDG 1. No?
Oh, I would tie them with BLG.
Okay, you tie them with BLG.
I like what I saw from BLG. I like what I saw from BLG.
So, but where would you put that what? Tell me then. What do you think is like BLG's ceiling? You said you think Talon are your dark horse. What is a BLG? They hit their ceiling. Where do they finish in champs?
I think BLG. I mean, ceiling. I think they have a chance.
You think there's a chance? You're saying there's a chance?
I think there's a chance, but it would not as much as Talon. Like Talon, I'm like willing to root for them. You know,
BLG, in terms of chances of winning.
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, you can't. You have to have faith when you've got an IGL who's dropping 29 kills and 26 assists in one map, man. Like, he's putting triple-double numbers out here on his own, carrying his team on KO. I think it's incredible. And they just look more comfortable in their own skin. So I would say, but I think for Billy, the reason I wouldn't rate them as highly as Talent is that I think their weak points are much more apparent. So I just don't have enough faith in them, like, actually reaching that ceiling.
Okay.
I haven't seen it as much,
Now, talk to me about DRG and XLG then. Like, is their ceiling making out of groups?
Yeah, I would say like top 8, max top 6, depending on the matchup. But
I mean, DRG have, I think, a bit of an advantage that they play their own weird comps, right? And I do think that, going into an international tournament, particularly if they cook up something different, right? Like, they don't just stick necessarily with the weird comps that they play, but particularly if they are willing to just and they have the old FPX coach, right? Who, I mean, is a madman. I mean, just is clearly on something different than everyone else. But I do think, and we saw this with FPX and, playing some very good teams last year, extremely close. It causes teams problems when you're an underdog and you play a weird-ass comp. If you know what you're doing with it, it's going to cause some teams some real issues because they're never going to scrim against it. And, you have to... And I would say, in general, most teams aren't good at adapting on the fly, right? Like most teams aren't great at being able to, you know, figure out what to do. And against certain teams, like for instance, against Paper Rex, I think you shouldn't do that because Paper Rex are just going to do what they want to do.
Yes.
And like they can always just default back to, well, we're Paper Rex. Whatever you play, we don't care. Right? Like I know this year they have been better at the anti-striking stuff, but they could always fall back on, okay, we've got no idea what you're doing. We're just going to play our game and just probably beat you because we're better than you. Right? Whereas for some teams, I do think you play something weird against them, you know, where maybe they're more reliant on a coaching staff, you know, to cook something up for them, right? Maybe you're playing against RRQ, right? And you feel like that will RRQ be able to in the moment figure out like what the fuck is this? You know, what the hell is going on? I think we saw like Global, for instance, you know, being RRQ with the Corrode, you know, comp and stuff in week 1 of stage 2. You know, stuff like that. I think against certain teams could work. So I do think that DRG have something in them. XLG, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not that excited for XLG, to be honest. I know Raga is Raga, but like obviously I want to shoot them some bail for Toronto because obviously they started in the playoffs. They had some hard games. Yeah, they didn't do great, but you know they were in some tough games. But like as I say, coming in as a 4 seed, you know you're probably gonna have some tough games. You know your first game is going to be against the first seed who's probably coming in feeling very confident and is in good form.
Yeah,
and like that's probably going to be one of Sen or G2. Paper Rex, most likely. Although, I mean, I guess Talon. If Patman doesn't go, maybe not. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. Actually.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, then your Talon take would be looking good if they win, like, get XLG first game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have a ton of... what always happens is, and people are going to do this as well, if you watch FNS do his Preds for Champs, he'll have no Chinese teams going to the playoffs, right? If you watch FNS, to be honest, Sliggy always tries to play safe with these spreads as well, and so he'll probably have no Chinese teams. Oh, I just don't know if it's that time. Like, you know, he'll have them winning a game but not making it. I'm telling you right now, at least one of these Chinese teams will make playoffs, guaranteed.
Oh, 100%.
Honestly, probably two will. There's always at least one Chinese team that turns up every tournament. There's always at least one that does pretty well. So don't pred against all of these Chinese teams. I'm telling you.
No.
They will. Someone will do all right. They always do at this point.
Yes. I think they're being massively underrated because I think something else we've seen for both China and Pacific is that these teams don't play as weird or muddy at an international level, right? Like that's like a region thing. You get drawn into it with each other. Yeah. Like you basically ego challenge each other and then you get drawn into it. But now you have but now you have experienced enough teams and players where they can like kind of calm that down if the opponent's not doing it. And then if needed, you can turn it up. So I don't think you should expect them to look exactly the same. The other thing is again, sometimes it looks even muddier because the other team is just as good at fighting in that scenario, right? Like you said, if RQ or, you know, maybe even Heretics, because it's been a little while or whatnot, right? Like they get suddenly smacked in the face with people just pushing out of smokes. It's like, okay, like, what do we do here? We're you know, it takes a couple of rounds and then the map's over. So I agree. I think China I think they will be massively underrated again. I don't think it will be fair, but I think they will do quite a bit of damage.
And again, now like all of the Chinese teams have experience. All of them have been to an international, so there is no like complete rookie team that is going. And obviously, BLG and EDG have a ton of experience. And it's still strange to think that EDG are defending their title. It feels quite strange that is the case, but you know, would it shock me? Because we did see like a brief glimmer there from EDG of it looked better, but just a small period. It was like maybe they could do something. But anyway, let's move on to Americas and talk about their strength of the region as well. And obviously, Americas is, I mean, yeah, just look at the points. G2 27, Sentinels 20, MIB on 9, NRG 9, Cloud9 9. It's interesting. It's interesting is what that is. And I don't know. Let's start with the top 2. Okay. Are you in agreement with me that the top 2 should be seen as 2 teams that could win champs? Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're putting them in there. Would you
Fully
put them
agree.
in the like
Yeah.
the? Would you put both of those teams, let's say, in the top 5 most likely to win?
Ooh, both of them in the top 5 most likely?
I'm guessing you would put G2 there,
Yes, G2 for sure.
and then
I'm trying to
Sen.
decide if Sen's probably right on the fence, right? Like
Okay,
I would be between Sen and like 1 or 2 other teams from other regions.
okay. But
Yeah.
but we're in a, so pretty likely. They're up there though. They're
Yeah.
like the teams that
Yeah.
could definitely win it. I mean, MIBR. I don't even know what to think
That's
of
a long
MIBR.
pause.
Like, is it? Someone pointed out in this to me in the chat as well that it was actually good for MIBR that they didn't make playoffs because they couldn't lose their head-to-head tiebreaker with those other teams. Someone pointed that out to me, and I was like, "Oh my god, what a stupid system!"
That's crazy, actually.
That's a crazy system, isn't it?
My
Yeah.
gosh.
So,
yeah.
but I mean, what do we think MIBR will be? Like, do you think like they're just gonna turn up and be like cannon fodder?
No, I don't think that'll happen.
Okay.
I think they'll have a fight. I think they'll put up a fight. But like this would be that team for me where I would play it safe, not have them get out of playoffs. But if they do, like I'll take the L and I'll be pleasantly surprised, right?
Yeah.
Like I believe obviously the individuals have proven themselves time and time again. Ospas, obviously we don't even have to discuss that, but so the individuals are there. So like we know the firepower is there. And I am willing to put enough faith to like not completely ignore them, right? In the coaching staff with fraud and just what we've seen from them before. So I'm willing to be pleasantly surprised. I want to be pleasantly surprised, but that would be the team where I'm like, nah, but they're not making it to playoffs.
Yeah.
And then if I sound stupid, I sound stupid,
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. I think that's a safe. I mean, they did literally have the worst performance of all time in the last international, so
yeah,
that's somewhat fair. And then you've got one of NRG or Cloud9. One of those two teams will go, and they play each other to determine that spot. It's just a straight win and in, lose and go home. Of the two, who would you have more faith for doing well at Champs?
NRG.
NRG, no hesitation in your mind.
Yep. No, 100% NRG.
Interesting.
I also just I think it's maybe I'm a little biased simply because I think NRG plays a style and interpretation that I like. Like I'm very fond of the ideas they are showing. And I liked it even at the beginning of the stage, for instance, when they first showed their corrode comp and things like that, I was like, okay, I want to see you guys like build on this. And watching their forum in playoffs, it's coming to fruition. So maybe it's just because I like that better. I also think that they just have a higher floor. So I think they'll do better at Champs.
Yeah.
I guess if the question was who would be more likely to win at Champs in the case that they do, I think I would still pick NRG.
Yeah.
But
I think so.
Yeah, but just like ever so slightly. I guess C9,
Yeah, I wouldn't have much hope for either of those teams winning Champs, I'm going to be honest. I still think they've got...
Yeah.
Like, the difficulty I have with these two teams, and really the rest of America's, is... like, at internationals, and I guess you could say this happened to MIBR at Toronto as well. Like, whenever these teams play against G2 or Sen, it looks like there is a gap. Like, it does look like there is a gap. And I know that Cloud9 played Sen, relatively close.
Yeah,
but it still kind of looked like there was a gap. It still kind of looked like this team is better than this team. And the problem is, obviously, when you go to these internationals, is you're going to run into those, like, every game is those teams, right? Maybe not every game, but, like, every game is close, right? Like, it's close.
Yeah.
There is no Furia for you here, right? There is no Furia for you to farm. And I personally wouldn't have that much hope for either of them, to be honest, to make it out of groups. Unless they...
not even to make it out of groups.
No, I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't, because I think...
Wow.
I think that they're both... I mean, like, NRG have some experience on their team, right? They've got Ethan, of course, who's... If they won, Ethan would be the first time 2 times Champs winner.
True.
But they've got quite a bit of inexperience. in general.
Yes.
Both of the teams.
True.
They've got multiple players who have never been to an international. Who haven't even, I mean, for NRG, they've got 2 players who haven't even been in tier 1 that long.
Yeah.
So I would be a little bit worried about that, right? And again, like for the for EMEA teams, the travel obviously is nothing, right? It's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I do think that that's one of those things where like having to get acclimatized, like all of that stuff. Like I think if you're playing your rookie tournament in your region, I feel like that's probably not disastrous, right? Because there's less things to have to get over. But if you're having to travel halfway across the world, that I do think would play a part for these players. And I do think that I just think that these teams have too many mistakes in them. I think that they have too many mistakes and they don't play. The thing is with America's teams is, and I know that Cloud9, are playing quite a lot of Sky, and I know that NRG, well, they're quite a, meta team. They're playing like a lot of normal-ish comps. I just think that if you play normal-ish comps and America's, is now kind of, they always go back to a default style. I feel like America's, they try and just kind of, they're not super creative, and also in America's, they don't play against a ton of teams who are super different in their style.
Yeah.
So you end up, I feel like, going up against teams that will play in a different style that they won't be used to, they won't have experience against, and then also, they're not the greatest teams, which they have shown throughout this year. Otherwise, they would already be in champs because you only needed 10 points to get in. So yeah, I just don't have a lot of hope. The only hope for them would be because the seeding maybe gets a bit weird. They do get a group of, like a Talon are the 1 seed team in their group, and then the 2 seed is, BBL, and they're the 3 seed, and then the 4 seed is Shilai. Like if you ended up with a group like that, okay, yeah, maybe they could end up getting out of groups. Like I could see that, but I think, the opposite might be true as well, where they get a group of Paper X, Team Liquid. Well, they might get, Billy, Paper. Like, yeah, they might get Billy, Paper X, and like Heretics. And it's like, yeah, good luck. See you later.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You're gonna turn up. You're not gonna win a map. Goodbye. Like, see you next week. And that could happen to them. So yeah, my personal hope is not too high. Just because, I mean, I've watched these teams play all year. And also for Cloud9 specifically, Oxy, I think the more important the game, Oxy tends to overheat more.
Yes. That I would agree. I mean, that's kind of been proven as well. So
yeah. So that I wouldn't have a ton of hope for. So let's do an overall then. Overall strength and then overall most likely to win. Let's start with overall strength. What would be your 1 to 4?
I would go EMEA, Pacific, China, Americas.
Wow. And I think depending on exactly who EMEA send, I think there's a world where you
that's true
flip. Well, I mean, but then again, if Pacific send DRX, that brings them down. But if DRX send Talon and EMEA send like Giants, I might swap the 2 there. I might swap 1 and 2. But yeah, I think otherwise I agree. And then overall most likely to win. What's your ranking?
Most likely to win, Pacific, EMEA. Oh, actually, well, Pacific, EMEA, Americas, China.
I'm going to disagree
Pacific
with you.
Single-handedly getting carried by Paper X in that equation.
I'm going to say it's EMEA most likely to win, then Pacific.
Oh, really?
Oh, actually, no. I'm going to go EMEA, Americas, Pacific, and then China.
You think G2 has a better shot at lifting the trophy than Paper X?
I think G2 plus Sen. I don't think any of the Pacific teams can win it.
Because there's 2 teams.
So I think G2 plus Sen is more likely than Paper X. Honestly, if I'm being real, I don't. Well, it is G2. I'd give them a decent chance. I would like Paper X would be the favorite. I'd put Paper X. Let's say we put Paper X.
But there's only one of them
at like 30%. But like the others, I think G2 would be. I mean, G2 might be the second favorite at this point, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think between G2 and Sen, they would be slightly more likely than Paper X overall. in my mind. But yeah, it's honestly though thinking about it, maybe even EMEA with how I'm feeling about them. Like now, what I just saw from Fnatic and Heretics, if they went, I'm not too sure. Anyway, let's finally move on to talking about those crucial last couple of games then. So, I mean, you've kind of given me the bias of Pacific.
Yes.
You know who you want to win. This game, Talon versus RRQ, though. Do you what percentage would you put on this game?
Percentage? I would give Talon a 65.
65. To win. Is this you assuming that RRQ maybe don't send their full roster? Or
no, with the full roster.
With the full roster, you would still give Talon 65%, even if RRQ had their full roster.
Yes.
Wow. Go on, explain that. That's, I feel like, pretty high. I mean, but go on. Tell me why. Yeah, why is Talon so favored?
The bias is probably slightly there. I just think, well, for one, I think obviously they're going to be much more driven. But two, I think Cruz is one of the best IGLs of Pacific, like definitely this year, but I kind of throughout as well. And I put a lot of respect to Crazy Guy as well, but I think Crazy Guy is very good at identifying teams' patterns that are kind of fixed in their ways, like not one-dimensional, but for instance, like Nongshim, right? Like Nongshim isn't entirely one-dimensional, but it is always in the same color, right? It's going to be aggressive. It's going to be fast. Once you figure it out one time out, or, you know, Crazy Guy figures it out once, and he's very good at stopping aggression. Like Crazy Guy's very good at that. But I think Cruz is kind of the counter to that, where if it gets stopped, he is an IGL that can say, okay, well, we have a couple other weapons we can use, right? We can have, instead of Thigh going in, we can have Primi, like lurking and going for picks, you know, and he has so many tools to use as well. And I think it'll be close, but I don't think it will be like a 3-0 just because it's 65%. But even if it's a 3-2, I think I would favor Talon just a bit. The only thing is the map pool, but I also feel like RQ actually is still in the phase of figuring out the meta for themselves. Like they're not completely settled yet. They're experimenting, a lot of Waylay, trying different people on Waylay. They drop that. I mean, I think Jemkin's Waylay has gotten a lot better. It might be now, my favorite in Pacific. Doesn't say a lot, but so they're still doing that. Whereas I think Talon are very clear on what and how they want to play, at least for Pacific playoffs. So I give them a little bit more of that stability.
Okay, and so you think Talon will win? Do you think Talon would win a grand final against Paper Rex?
No.
You think Paper? So you would just think Paper Rex are going to be?
Assuming Patman is there. Assuming
Patman is there. You think Paper Rex should be kind of nailed on winners?
The only caveat is, and I actually kind of hope this happens for Paper Rex's sake, is that Paper Rex leaves open and picks Corrode in the first 3 maps. It doesn't go very well, and Talon, run with it. That would be the caveat, I think. That would be like the one glaring weakness that Paper Rex might still have. But otherwise, I think, I mean, you just can't deny that something just goes prime form against Talon. I don't know what it is. He just knows he just can't lose against Talon. So,
yeah, I agree with you. I think it would be tough. Who would sub in, do you know, for Paper Rex? Would it be
most likely CGRS, because he's already going to be there. He's going to be there for the show match, I believe. So,
that would be interesting. Would be interesting.
If the return of Gecko in Tokyo.
Wow, that actually would be such a cool callback.
It would be sick.
I personally would say I'm going to lean Talon 55-45. I'm not as confident as you, because I do think that with the pressure being on so much, you're saying that they'll care more, which they will, but I do also think the pressure element of it.
Yes,
like they could, they still do have a pretty inexperienced team overall. Like could the pressure get to them? Especially, I mean, Frost has probably got them locked in a room, drilled, to the nth degree. Like, have they relaxed at all? I don't know, but yeah, I do think Talon should be favored, and I do think though that Paper Rex. Honestly, I could even see with a sub Paper Rex still being favored, because they're just going to play with Whimsy and just go crazy.
Yep.
And just destroy you.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to EMEA then. So EMEA looks like this currently. We got BBL versus Team Liquid, upper final. You got Giants Navi, lower round 3. Upper final, BBL Liquid. I actually do think I think BBL will win that game, personally. I really do.
Really? Like, how big of a chance are we giving them?
I would say that's I mean, it's still only like a 55-45. Like, it's still...
Okay.
It's still, like, close. I don't think they're going to destroy them. But I think they're just riding a wave right now. I just think that, like, they're just feeling it. Like confidence-wise, if you can beat Fnatic and Heretics, you can beat Liquid. Like, they're not going to go into that game and feel like, oh, we're playing Team Liquid. Like, no. They're going to feel like we've just beat 2 teams who historically are better than this team.
Yeah. I can't shake the feeling. If I chose BBL, it would be because I want them to win, I think. But I think if I were doing my pick'ems, I would go with Liquid.
Okay.
But I'm okay with the BBL 55. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. And then in the lower round 3, Giants Navi. I mean, I hate that I've just been doubting Giants this whole time. Like, I really do feel bad because, like, every moment, every opportunity, I've just been like, yeah, it's Giants. Like, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, like, they've got to this point. But I've said on Plat Chat, I've been converted. I am a Navi believer, and so I must pick Navi. Are you with me?
Yes, I think Navi wins this.
Okay, now if that were to, well, if my bracket were to happen,
yes,
we would get Navi versus Liquid, which would be crucial for Team Heretics. Team Heretics would then be on the line. If your bracket happened and Team Liquid won this game, then it would be a straight shootout lower final, BBL versus Navi. Which honestly, either way, cinema. This lower final is going to be, no matter, like, again, it'd be the same thing if Giants won here as well, by the way. So either way, the EMEA lower final is going to be crazy important. Crazy important, because either Team Heretics aren't making it, or it's going to be like a straight bet. And again, we get the perfect best of 5 to go. A best of 5 to go to champs, which is just, that's going to be hit amazing. Oof. I mean, we don't know how that'll play out, so I'm not going to ask you, but I will just ask you, who do you think will win the grand final? Are you just a full Liquid believer? You picked them against BBL. Is there any chance that a Navi or a BBL could go to the grand final and upset Liquid in your mind?
I think BBL could, just because map pool wise, I agree with what you said. They look like the one team that feels comfortable with what they're doing on almost every map. Obviously, Korea, they haven't found a win yet, but so even if like the other team had the double map ban, I think map pool wise I would favor BBL. So that's one where I would be very comfortable giving them what maybe I consider an upset win, right? Navi probably not. Navi probably not in winning a BO5 from the lower final. You know what? I'm okay with saying BBL. Like whether they win the first time or not. Yeah, BBL win it at all.
I'm gonna, well, let's get this, Chobra. So you predicted Team Liquid winning the upper final. So, but for you, it would be between BBL and Navi. Who would you pick?
Yes, I would very reluctantly pick BBL.
Okay. No. I'm gonna say right now, my pred is that Team Heretics won't make champs. I think that Navi will beat Liquid in that lower final, and then I would have BBL winning. And I think Heretics won't make champs.
Yeah. I can see that, though. If Liquid goes down, I can see Navi beating them in a BO5. I can see that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
the lower final is going to be so good in the EMEA. It's going to be so fucking good. Like, what a game.
That's so great. What a weekend for EMEA.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy. So, the lower final... So, Pacific is just on Saturday and Sunday, right? It's just the weekend.
Yes, yeah.
And EMEA and Americas are on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For those of you who want to tune in and make sure you don't miss anything. And as I said, unfortunately for me, Pacific is on very early in the morning. So keep an eye out, because even Chober didn't know that, apparently.
Yeah, even I didn't know.
But it does make sense because it's in Japan. What is the Japan time difference? Is it 2 hours? 1 hour to Korea?
I think it's just 1 hour.
It's just 1 hour, and yeah, we're playing 2 hours early. Jesus, Japan, get it together.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, actually.
And then in Americas, finally, to end this, we've got Sen versus G2 and NRG Cloud9. Before we get to this game, let's first just talk about Sen G2, which for the most part, G2 have had the better of this matchup. Sen did beat G2 at week 1 of stage 2 with Baby Bay.
Yeah.
I do think that Baby Bay has improved a lot since then, to be fair. In terms of his play. Where are you on that game? Are you... Because I think that's kind of a coin flip, to be honest. I think that's very 50-50.
Yeah, actually. It does feel 50-50. And I really feel bad for Sentinel saying this, but if it's a 50-50, I think I would just have to go with G2, right? Because of history. But that it's not because I think Sentinels will lose. It's just because I think G2 would win.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a perfect. It's 50-50. That's how it goes. I mean, and it's 50-50. Cosmic Divide. I'll split you down the middle, and I'll say the Sen will win. I'll say the Sen will win. Right. Let's talk about the crucial game, though, which is this one. NRG versus Cloud9. This is for all of the marbles. Give me your percentage on this game. Give me a full percent, NRG Cloud9.
I am giving NRG a 60-40.
I am totally in agreement with you. I am exactly there with you. You tell me why you're favoring NRG.
They have a higher floor. Yeah, they're just a better team, actually. I just think that they have better fundamentals. I think it's very clear that they understand those fundamentals. And like, for instance, you know what, C9, you're leaning into the sky. It works for you. I'm glad. I can actually kind of see why you would lean into the sky on this roster and this team. But NRG is also leaning into what they're good at, and I just think what they're good at is better at that point. So I think it's a really unfortunate matchup for C9.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, for me, one of the reasons that I think NRG should be favored in this is because of what you mentioned there. Cloud9 are playing, let's say, their own style, right? They're playing, multiple maps with Sky, like going back to like 2023 meta stuff. They're also got this Icebox comp that, is a bit weird with the Raze ISO on Icebox. And so my take is, if this game would have been played like the day after the last couple of games, I think Cloud9 would have a chance. But if you give NRG a full week of prep as well to say, this is how they run the Sky, this is because obviously, like, against, weirder comps, if you get a lot of prep time to study it and go like, okay, this is what they're doing, that Icebox comp, which they've won in the last 2 games, well, the third time when we've got a ton of I mean, it almost didn't even work against 100 Thieves, which is a red flag in and of itself the second time. So
yes,
you're playing against a better team who have more time to prep. I don't think that their Icebox, like, I think, and we just saw NRG destroy Lev on Icebox, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Icebox would be in their favor. And then I think that all of these Sky comps that they're running, like, you can see the ways that you can counter them. And NRG, I think, could come up. They could come up with a bespoke game plan for Cloud9, but I also think that they could just play their normal stuff as well, and just have a good idea of what Cloud9 are doing. And yeah, I think that they are also just a bit of a better team. So it's not to say that Cloud9 can't win this, but I do think it is favored for NRG. But then, so we both have NRG winning that game.
Sure.
Is there any hope that NRG would then be able to beat G2 or Sen, or do you think?
I'll give them the 30. Yeah, I'll give them the 30%. I'll give them the 30%. But no, they are just worse. The gap it's not even a gap; it's a chasm in America.
Chasm.
It's like G2 and Sen are just way above.
Yeah, the only way I think that NRG or Cloud9 really would win that lower final afterwards would be the Sen and G2 just don't care. They just don't care at all, and they and I don't think G2 would be like that. I think G2 want to win this because that would be 3 out of 3, and so I think for them, that is something to chase. Be like, we are definitively, no doubt, the best team in Americas of 2025, which they already would be. But it's just a nice thing to put down a marker of saying, especially doing it with Baby Bay as well. That would be kind of crazy.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. For Sen, you could say they haven't won anything this year. Like, winning stage 2 would also, mean quite a lot. I'm gonna say that Sen win the upper final. G2 do what they did in stage 1, which is they go through the lowers and win. Is what I'm gonna say happens.
Yeah.
But Chober, who do you have winning? Do you have G2 winning it?
I would have G2 winning it still.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And so, overall, at Champs, we've got Paper Rex, T1, RRQ. We're telling you right now, it's going to be Talon. It's going to be Talon. It's going to be
It
Talon.
has
There's
to be.
nothing that could go wrong. It's going to be Talon.
No.
We both picked Talon. It's going to be Talon. 100%. In Americas, well, we've got the 4 Chinese teams. You got BLG, XLG, EDG, and
Yeah.
who have I forgot there? Did I say BLG? DRG? They all end in G.
DRG.
DRG.
Yeah, actually, they're all gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all gaming. Not all gamers though. All gaming.
No.
In Americas, well, I mean, we've got MMBRG2 Sen, and I'm telling you right now, it will be NRG. It will be 100%. Don't even watch the game. Doesn't matter. And then in EMEA,
Yeah.
well, we disagreed in EMEA, so it'll probably be Giants. But we did disagree in EMEA because you had had Liquid, Heretics, BBL, Fnatic. You had kind of the favorite 4, let's say. I've gone a bit different. I've said it's BBL, Fnatic, Liquid, Navi. No Heretics.
Navi,
Heretics not going. So it probably will be Giants. Probably will be Giants and no BBL is what will probably happen instead. But anyway, that has been Cosmic Divide. Thank you, Chobra, who I do genuinely think made a lot of great points this episode. I think this was a standout performance from Chobra. Genuinely. He said a lot of things that I agreed with, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this did as well. Do you have any closing remarks?
I mean, someone has to pull their weight in this organization, you know? So I try to do my best to leave an impact going into Champs. No, I think I do just want to emphasize that I think this Champs is exciting. I know we say that every year, but last year, a lot of us also mentioned that like a lot of people were feeling the burnout, whether it was as a viewer or a team, or, you know, the storylines were kind of maybe too cliche. But I think this year is really exciting. And I think it's very important for all of us to like really lean into that, like really enjoy it. Like not just like this game was fun, but the whole event. Yeah. Because I think it'd be good to remind ourselves. And it helps that it's later, right? It was crazy that I was reminded that Champs already ended by this time.
Champs ended, what was it, yesterday? 2 days ago? Something like yesterday. That. EDG won the grand final. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely helping that we've spread out. That's one of the universal wins I don't think anyone has any complaints about. Just going back to looking at last year's Champs, because that's the thing. I think sneaky last year's Champs was one of the worst internationals as a whole. Yeah, I think sneaky. Yeah. It had a great grand final. The grand final, EDG Heretics
saved it.
This saved Champs, I think, last year, because I think up to that point, do you remember? Like, who remembers Lev's? Do you remember this Lev Team Heretics game where they won 2-0?
Not at all.
I don't. I slightly remember this upper final and thinking that Lev should have won on Abyss. I remember this, and Aspas was just walking around with his op doing nothing on attack. I remember that. I don't really remember the lower final, I'll be honest with you.
No.
I have a vague memory of Sen doing okay, but like even that, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it was kind of like I feel like I have a more visceral memory of some of the things that happened in Shanghai, which was even further, you know, even before, you know, the Genji, the silence, that was very fun.
Yeah. I think it was just last year. It was very messy, right? Like the gameplay was very messy going into Champs. And it was like a lot of hero plays. I think you could cherry pick moments, but until you got to the end, it really just was really just the ending. And like being there, like you could feel that the energy was kind of down among like the teams and players. Like the fans were loving it, right? Because the Korean fans got to watch it. And I don't think to this day, I don't think the broadcast did enough justice to, especially at the Inspire Arena of the fans. Yeah. Because at the Inspire Arena, it was one of the louder events I had been to, and I have been to a lot. So the Inspire Arena was good. Obviously, the auditorium before that was, a little bit unfortunate that we had the same venue. But the teams, like, you could just tell. It felt like a work day, and it's Champs. So that's unfortunate. I think it'll be different this year.
I think it'll be different. I think sneaky 2024 was maybe not the best year, because Madrid was kind of a bit like the grand finals were good of those tournaments, but like Madrid, I mean, the fact that Paper X and Lamp finished in third, fourth, that tells you everything you needed to know about that tournament. And then Shanghai I actually thought was pretty good overall.
Shanghai was pretty good.
I thought that was pretty good. And then, but yeah, Champs, the grand final was amazing. Arguably the best game, but I do think that the Bangkok final, I'm now putting that number 1. Joe, would you put that number 1? So what's the best Valorant game of all time?
Oh.
I'm putting Bangkok.
One?
I'm saying Bangkok is number 1. The Bangkok grand final, I think, is number 1.
Yeah, and again, not biased because at the time I wasn't involved, but I would actually maybe put the SPG Boom finals next to the Bangkok finals.
Yes,
but,
that was.
But that one gets helped by the story a lot because it's like 4 Ascension, so that one gets helped by that. Yeah,
but
the Bangkok finals were
tainted
really
by the
good.
fact that it didn't matter in the end.
Yes, it also gets tainted a lot. But no, the Bangkok finals were really good. Like the Bangkok finals had a story through the entire best of 5. Like there was an actual story going on.
Yeah. Great story.
So,
and then Toronto, I thought was a fun tournament too. I do think Wolves really carried that tournament somewhat, but
yes,
I do think it was a very fun tournament. This one, in fact, here, last question before we go.
All right.
I want you to tell me who's going to be the Wolves of Champs. Who is a team that like no one has real faith for that is going to go on a crazy run?
Ooh.
DRX.
I mean, well, no. They make another run to 5th, 6th, and it's just nothing. It's just a big nothing.
No, yeah, you have to finish. I think at least 3rd. You have to finish at least 3rd. I think.
I mean, I would say Talon. I don't think anyone else really has them going that deep.
No,
I would say Talon. Or despite them being first seed, Billy. I feel like a lot of people will still underrate them as well.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think those are 2 good choices. I'm just gonna throw out a random team. I wanted to say MLBR, but it's not gonna be MLBR, is it? I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna believe. I'm gonna say Navi.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say Navi. Let's go. Let's go, Navi. And I do think people would love that story, right? Like there are certain like for instance, if DRX went on a run to 3rd, it would be cool, but I do think that people would be like, well, I've seen DRX be good before. But like if it was Nav, there would be something about Navi doing an Angel, running it back,
bringing it back.
It would be an amazing story, wouldn't it? It would be an amazing story if that happened. But I do think that Talon and BLG are also good shouts because like kind of lesser known, people maybe not as familiar with them would also be people would be hopping on those trains. And also Frost would be amazing. Like chatting shit about how much better he is than everyone else. He'd be chatting so much shit, it'd be so funny.
Yeah, it'd be so good. It'd be cinema for sure.
Yeah. So let's hope that happens. I'm sure instead what will happen is Giants will go to Champs. And DRX will go to Champs, and Cloud9 will go to Champs, and then all 3 of those teams will do absolutely nothing, and it will be like, what a waste of time. But hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Yes.
And even if those teams do go, by the way, if they then do something at Champs, I'd also be excited for that. So, thank you, Chobra, for joining me. Thank you for watching Cosmic Divide. It's been a pleasure, Chobra, as ever. Go and check out Chobra. Will Chobra on Twitch. And on YouTube.
And X. And Instagram.
X, still doing that.
And Blue Sky.
That's how he feels about, that's his politics. Read into that whatever you want. And yes, thank you for watching. And goodbye. Have a good morrow. Wave.